All right. I would like it if this stream didn't go too long. I know I probably say that before every stream, but it rarely turns out that way. But I'm going to see Deadpool later, so if this one didn't go incredibly long, that would be nice. So let's just get right into it. If you guys can hear me okay, let me know in the chat room. I'm going to assume that the audio is coming in all right, because I just want to get this thing started. So let's do it. Impact Wrestling from February the 9th. I think that's right. Was it February the 9th? I'm terrible with dates. Yes. Okay. February the 9th. Week 1 of the Maximum Impact Tour. The UK tour shows are some of my favorite shows that TNA put on all year. For several reasons. But one of the main ones is that the show actually looks like a big deal when they're in the big arenas and drawing the big crowds, big for this company anyway. Which just makes the fact that they insist on turning off the house lights in the arena so you can't actually see the goddamn crowd all the more infuriating, but I've already been through that before. Damn it. Sorry, allergies. Also, I love these shows because they're clearly always a big deal to the company. So they tend to roll out the big guns and try to do things that make the shows feel special and significant. They don't always succeed, but they make an effort. I just have to question the effectiveness at times. Anyway, the show begins with our first of two in-ring Matt Hardy promo segments. Oh boy. This was the weaker one, unfortunately. It's another example of everyone else in the segment outshining Matt on the mic. You know, when you're the world champion and not only your bitchy trophy wife, but your hired muscle are both cutting better promos than you, that's a problem. You know, he seems to be getting a good amount of heat so far, at least for now, but how long is that going to last? Is he going to have the stuff to make this work long term? Better question would be, do the writers want him to be a long-term champion? Because he's going to need to raise his game on the microphone, among other things, if they don't want that to backfire. Anyway, Matt wants Dixie Carter to fire EC3. So essentially this whole thing is not so much about Matt, but building up EC3's big return. Very wise decision. Now, it's kind of silly and frankly delusional of Matt to think Dixie is going to fire EC3 just because he says so. You know, I don't know what made him think that would work. It seemed like the writers needed an excuse for Matt to talk about EC3 a lot, and that was all they could come up with. That's pretty flimsy in my opinion, but, you know, hey, at least it got a reaction. Damn. Our first match of the night is Bram versus Lashley, and I'm not sure why this match even happened. You know, there didn't seem to be a story-related reason for it to be there aside from putting Bram in the ring for the UK crowd. It was competitive enough that I felt Bram looked good here, but I did not like how it ended. When Eric Young and Bram are being credited with putting Jeff Hardy out of action, why are you not having them capitalize on that? Why just throw it away by having Lashley get one up on them like this? Especially when they don't even seem to be in a storyline with Lashley right now. He didn't just beat Bram here, he got over on Eric too. What's the point? It just felt like a big waste of potential heel heat. If they're going to be responsible for Jeff Hardy getting pile-driven through a table and put on the shelf, follow it up with these guys going on a tear. So it means something when Jeff comes back to get revenge. You completely take the impact out of it when you have them get beat like this right after. Now it's not going to mean as much when Jeff comes back because they already got the shit kicked out of them by Lashley for no reason. Next, we have Kurt Angle getting interrupted by Mike Bennett. And so far, I think TNA have done a pretty good job with how they're presenting Bennett. They're not overexposing him. And when he appears, at least in the arena, it means something. He's standing out right now, and not just because of his performance, but because they're highlighting him well and not throwing him out there just to get him there. Like him getting in Kurt Angle's face here, talking about how he idolized him as a kid, wanted to beat him up, wanted to beat him when he grew up, and all that stuff. It didn't come across as delusional, like he was wanting to do something that it was impossible for him. More like this guy feels that he's at a certain level, and it doesn't seem out of the question because they've done a good job presenting him like a star. Now, Angle ejecting him from the ring with one shot didn't help, but that'll feed into the feud with him and Drew Galloway, I imagine, so I'm okay with that. Trevor Lee and Tigre Uno have a rematch for the X Division title. I preferred this match to their first one. It was faster paced, and they definitely gelled better this time. I'm still waiting for the writers to give me a reason to care about any of this, though. Let's be honest. Tigre Uno, through no fault of his own, went absolutely nowhere as the X Division champion, much like the recent champions before him. And if TNA want me to think it's going to be any different with Trevor Lee, it's going to take a lot more work on their part than giving him a couple TV matches and a manager. Now, they put him over pretty decently against Tigre Uno, but that doesn't impress me. Give the guy an actual storyline, a feud, and regular TV time week to week, then we'll talk. Then we come back from commercials, and Beer Money are right in the middle of talking. Apparently, their promo wasn't important enough for us to actually get to see the whole thing. So they're calling out the Wolves for their tag title shot, but the Decay come out. We have an impromptu match with them instead. I'm really liking the Decay so far. Don't really care about Abyss, but Crazy Steve and Rosemary fit together perfectly. They make this thing work. And Rosemary is enhancing this act a lot. And she's only made a couple appearances so far, but she's already standing out, already distinguishing herself. And this match, while nothing out of the ordinary, had more of what I was hoping for from last week's match in how the booking incorporated her. You can tell this is a performer who can do a lot with very little. So when you have her doing stuff like jumping into the ring to distract Bobby Roode, so Crazy Steve can hit the nut shot, and being this defiant shield between the Decay and the Wolves when they come out, that makes an impression. I hope they'll continue to have her interject herself like that, because with the way she's playing it, her getting involved adds something to the Decay's gimmick, whereas with a different performer, it would just feel like needless interference. I mean, hell, she didn't even need to do that much, and she was still the most memorable thing about this segment. I hope the writers realize what they got with Rosemary and give her a bigger role soon, because she's absolutely making the most of this. She's a really unique and interesting character that they could do a lot with if they give her half a chance. Christ, my voice was fine until I started the stream. Now all of a sudden I can't talk. Anyway, so this was one of those times when the post-match stuff was more interesting to me than the match itself. I'm pretty done with the Abyss character at this point. He doesn't have much spring in his step anymore, so when he's in the ring, I just sort of tune out. And I want to beat my head against a wall every time he uses Janice, but at least he did us the courtesy of waiting until after the match to pull it out this time. I mean, fuck Janice, seriously. I never want to see that woman again. But when Rosemary starts doing stuff, then I'm paying attention, because this character is just so fucking cool. Now, how many other knockouts are you going to see facing down two pissed-off dudes with steel chairs, daring them to hit her like she did here? You know, that's awesome. That's really cool stuff. Average match, but Rosemary made that post-match stuff great. And we get our knockouts match with Jade of the Dollhouse versus Madison Rayne of the Boringful People, with both of them getting their entrances cut. I don't know about you guys, but I can't even remember why these two factions are feuding anymore. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere or treading any new ground. It just feels like they're dragging out something that doesn't need to be dragged out. Unfortunately, there isn't much going on in the knockout division right now. Not much else. There really isn't. maybe they could have gotten more mileage out of this, but then Angelina got pregnant, and then Taryn left, and Kong left, not to mention Brooke. And now it's like, why are you even still bothering with this? Maybe a promo segment would help with that, just to remind the audience why these women have a problem with each other in the first place, and what they're trying to prove with this rivalry, and what it means to them. And, what is to be accomplished through this feud, because it was never really explained all that clearly in the first place. That, in my opinion, would have been more effective than just doing another match. And these matches are rapidly getting stale. It's just the same thing on repeat, with the Dollhouse exploiting the numbers advantage, and I don't find it very interesting. I'm happy to see the Dollhouse with the upper hand in the feud, but it doesn't seem to be building to anything right now. But they do Jade versus Madison. The match is pretty good. Jade wins, thankfully. But stop me if you've heard this one. No sooner does the Dollhouse go over than Gail Kim runs out to completely invalidate that victory by putting all three of them all by herself. Of course. God forbid the Dollhouse gain any real momentum, because it's not like the Knockout division just lost its top two heels in the last couple months, right? No, it was absolutely necessary that Gail Kim run out to destroy them like that, because the last thing we'd want is the fans viewing the Dollhouse as any kind of viable threat to anybody. I gotta say, I'm getting really fucking tired of this. I am. I know TNA have a love affair with Gail Kim that will never die, but it's been 9 years, you guys. 9 years! How long is this going to continue? How does it benefit the Knockout division when it's only used as a vehicle to put over the same woman who's been at the top of it since it started almost a decade ago? What are you trying to accomplish here? This is just, it's just getting ridiculous now, and that's coming from a Gail Kim fan. Wouldn't it have been more productive to have the Dollhouse overwhelm Gail simply because there's 3 of them and 1 of her? I don't think that would have been unreasonable. Some things never change, I guess. But god damn it, why is Gail Kim still so untouchable? This makes no sense. They're not accomplishing anything with this anymore. This is a big part of why the Knockout division has gotten so stagnant. I mean, if they put a chink or two in Gail Kim's armor, that's not a bad thing. It's really not. Speaking of things that don't change, TNA are idiots for cutting away from the main event so quickly. They have Angle Drew Galloway 2 on Kurt Angle's farewell tour. It's another really damn good match. Way, way better than Angle Matt Hardy last week. Probably TNA's match of the year so far. I thought it eclipsed their first match. They even had a little blood in there, which definitely added to the intensity of everything. Kurt does a really classy thing here in tapping out for Drew, putting him over great, giving him a big rub. And after the match, you have this really nice emotional moment between the two of them, because it's one of Kurt's last matches in the company, and they're in the UK, which has a lot of meaning for Drew to get a win like this. You get the sense that something special is happening here. And then they immediately undercut the whole thing by cutting away from it way too fucking fast. God, I hate it when they do this. Over the years, TNA have ruined a lot of potentially great moments just by not staying on them as long as they needed to. When you cut away from it like that, the message you send to the audience is that this is not as important as we would like you to think it is, because we don't feel like devoting any more time to it, and we're in a rush to get it over with. It just cheapens the whole thing so much, and it's fucking ridiculous. Instead of cutting away from something to something else, like they still... Can't talk. Instead of cutting away to something else while they're still in the ring, got it that time, stay on them for a while. Stay on them as they walk up the ramp. Stay on them as they stand on the stage, soak it in the crowd reaction, let the moment play out, let it breathe as they walk to the back, then fade out, go to commercials, then go to the next segment when you come back. Great stuff here otherwise, but god damn, the way they cut away from that really irritated me. And that brings us to our final segment of the night, and our second Matt Hardy in-ring promo segment of the night. Matt wants Dixie Carter to fire our Lord of Wrestling EC3. You've got some nerve, mister. Matt's performance was better here, I suppose. I thought he was really underwhelming last week on the mic and in the opener, for that matter, but he seemed more into it this time. He was more engaging, more of the personality came out. I still don't think he's all that compelling as a talker, and he probably never will be, but for Matt Hardy, this was a pretty decent segment. That said, he totally got shown up by Rockstar Spud, who almost found himself in EC3's corner here. Surprisingly. Not completely, and I like that they acknowledged that EC3 did do a lot of bad things to Spud that he hasn't forgotten about, but they kind of found themselves in the same side all of a sudden. Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that. That's great. Could we be getting a reunion of EC3 and Spud? Please say yes. Please say yes. Those two are fucking gold together. So really nice to see Spud back in a prominent role. He was one of the big success stories on the roster that came out in the last few years, and they've been dropping the ball with him since last summer. Which is ironic because he's the guy responsible for Austin Aries not being there anymore. You'd think they want to capitalize on that and get what they can out of it. But, not so. No, he disappeared for a few months. Which is dumb. So I like that Spud got to play an important part here, and if this leads to him and EC3 teaming up again, that's even better. But Matt's not listening to anything Spud has to say. He wants Dixie to fire EC3. He's yelling at her to do it, commanding her to do it, ordering her to do it, which finally brings out our Lord of Wrestling to shut his ass up. And unfortunately, the huge pop he got from the audience sounded muted because after a fucking decade and a half, TNA have still not figured out how to mic a crowd properly. He got a massive reaction. The fans were even singing his theme song, and you just couldn't make it out. This shit is so Bush League that after all these years, TNA still can't figure out how to mic a fucking crowd the right way. There's no excuse for that crap anymore. If you're the audio guy and you can't do your job, then fire this motherfucker and hire somebody who can. Fucking tired of this crap. So EC3 cleans house like only he can, and of course, Matt runs away like a coward. You can run, but you can't hide, you son of a bitch. Now, EC3 came off great here. He's made the transformation from pampered rich kid to badass, but he still feels like himself. You know, he still took that moment to pose on the ramp at the end, which is not really necessarily something a babyface would do, but it's something EC3 would do. So he still feels like himself. So I'm optimistic that they won't lose what made this character work, won't lose the essence of the character just because he's a good guy now, which is something that happens too often in wrestling. Reference Bobby Roode. He's been a victim of that more than once. All told, a really good segment to end the show with, and EC3's return felt like a big moment. You know, it's moments like this that feel more special than they would otherwise when they happen on the UK tour, because you've got the bigger, hotter crowds for a change. It's a shame we couldn't actually hear it, but whatever. If that had happened on in the Impact Zone, it wouldn't have meant nearly as much. It's a damn shame the audio couldn't capture the full effect of that moment, but the live reports said the crowd went nuts for EC3 here, so that's what we should go with. Minus the glaring audio problems, which TNA seriously need to get off their asses and fix already, because that's been an issue for years. EC3's return came off really well, and since that's what the whole show built up to, that counts for a lot. Now add Angle Galloway too, and the big stuff on this Impact delivered, minus some production gaffes. The other stuff was hit and miss, unfortunately. This show definitely had timing issues, resulting in them having to cut corners and get to it, and get it to within a 2-hour runtime. When that happens, the entrances are the first thing to go, and that always pisses me off. Even more galling was the Angle Galloway post-match stuff getting cut away from way too quickly. undercutting a really special moment that was just dumb. They were definitely pressed for time here, and that makes no sense to me because they still had time to feature the Bram Lashley match, which seemed to have no reason to be on the show at all. It just came off like filler. And of course, they had to make time for fucking Grado. Don't even get me started on that shit. Okay, so it's giving Eli Drake something to do. But if they actually make him job to that ass clown Grado, or worse, if Eli ends up with that fired case and Grado gets rehired, I'm gonna be so fucking angry. Don't even want to think about it. So that's about it for this one. The big match and the big angle came off very well, minus some really aggravating production issues that TNA don't seem to be in any hurry to address for reasons I don't understand. The rest of the show had some problems, and hopefully at least those will get ironed out before this tour is finished. Wow. I think some of these are left over from last week, from last time. So, all right. Did you hear what happened to Raquel? It just makes me want Raquel to become a huge star and stick it in those jealous a-holes' faces. Yeah, I heard about it. I heard about that. She got stiffed in a match on the Indies. I don't know exactly what happened there. I mean, injuries do happen, especially when you've got a worker who's new and doesn't completely know what she's doing yet. But apparently, these other two girls kind of took matters into their own hands and really roughed her up. And she, I saw the pictures. I mean, she was bruised up pretty badly, and apparently she had like a cracked tooth and a fractured jaw. And there's no excuse for unprofessional bullshit like that. And that's like what Hardcore Holly, like when he roughed up that dude on Tough Enough. That's despicable. Seriously, fuck those two girls. I mean, I'm not a Raquel supporter, but nobody deserves to get treated like that. That's horse shit. Fat Lordy had 2 promos. Yep. Second one was all right. Matt Hardy with bad promos and bad matches. This is going to fucking backfire. I'm not terribly optimistic about it myself. He's trying hard. And some of the segments have been all right. Could be going better though. The writing to this is fucking confusing. Bram had the match, won, and they did some bullshit. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Bram had the upper hand. He could have gone for a pin right there, but instead Eric jumps in the ring with the King of the Mountain title belt and wants to rough up Lashley. Why? You had the match fucking won. I get that they're supposed to be mentally unstable, but are they stupid? Win the match, then rough him up. That part was annoying. No, I do not. Do I watch Lucha Underground? No, I do not. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's just not for me. I watched One Night Only Rivals yesterday, and that Shera Lashley match was horrible. Very likely Shera's worst match so far. He was so slow, and it seemed like he had no idea what he was supposed to do. Yeah, I haven't seen that show. I've heard bad things about that match, though. Mike Bennett looked like a bitch out there. Yeah, kind of. I liked him getting in Angle's face like that. And I thought things were going very well for him up until Angle completely pooned him with one shot. That didn't help. That I wish had been done. That part I wish had been done differently. Like maybe have Bennett put up a little bit of a fight before he gets ejected from the ring. I mean, you could have had Maria get involved and maybe stop Angle, have her turn the tides or something, and then have Drew make the save for him. That might have worked. But yeah. Probably they didn't want to go for something like that on Angle's farewell tour. I guess they don't want him to be involved in that stuff, which is unfortunate. Do you think Mike Bennett deserves world title, world time? I'm assuming you mean world title in the near future. Not the near future. I think they're still trying to figure out how to make this character really click. I think all the pieces are there, and so far I like what they've done with him. But should he get it in the title in the near future? No, I don't think so. It's too soon for that. Yeah, Trevor Lee still looks like a jobber. Yeah, I have to agree. He's a good wrestler, but I mean, can they not give this guy some like a better look? Like give him some different ring gear or something. I mean, okay, you got him with the title, with a manager. That's all well and good, but can you tweak his appearance? I'm sorry, this guy looks like a fucking hobo. He looks like a homeless person walked in off the street and got in the ring and won the title. Okay, if he's gonna look like that, take the fact that he looks like a homeless person and maybe make that part of his gimmick. Like he's kind of spitting in the face of all these people who say, "Oh, you got to look presentable. You got to look like a star." He says, "No, fuck that. I'm going to dress like I want," or something. But no, I'm sorry, the guy doesn't look like a star right now. He's performing well, but they gotta give him a better look. They really do. Yeah, the Lashley Bram thing probably would have worked better if it included a post-match beatdown from Bram and EY. That way Lashley would have won as he should, but the Maniacs would have kept steam. Yeah, that would have been nice. I mean, I really don't know what that segment was there for. You take the guys who put Jeff Hardy out of action and then you just completely undercut them for no reason. Why? Did that match even need to happen? It's not like you were advancing the Raquel storyline there. She's not even on the tour, as I understand it. So what was the point of that? You just undercut two heels who should be going on a tear. It didn't make any sense. Am I the only one watching the video who doesn't watch TNA, only cares about my FK's reviews? You never know. Thank you, though. Thank you for saying that. Rosemary is already the most popular knockout on the roster in just a few weeks. Impressive. I don't know if you can make that assumption just yet. I think her character is definitely catching on. It's definitely she's definitely attracting a following very quickly. I mean, the people on Twitter love her, and all the feedback I've seen from her had been like universally positive. So yeah, I think she's catching on really quickly. I think she could find herself very over in the not too distant future. That's great. I think she's killing it right now. What's up with Bobby and that chick from Tough Enough? Beats me. We really don't know what's going on there. All we've heard from Raquel is that she will bring pleasure and she will bring pain, and she has some kind of this has something to do with Lashley. What, we don't know, because every time she shows up, she just says the same thing. And I'm hoping they'll advance the story the next time she shows up. But who really knows right now? Is Knockout Lethal Lockdown this Tuesday or next Tuesday? Probably next Tuesday. I think that's going to happen on the Lockdown show, which I'm assuming is just going to be on Impact. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure. No, I think that'll happen on Impact. I think it'll be in 2 weeks, although I'm not really certain right now. Which, big surprise, TNA haven't done a good job promoting this. Eh. I would put her in a feud with Gail instead of Maria. So would I. I mean, you get Suicide Squad movie coming out pretty soon. I think next month. You got this girl who is very similar to Harley Quinn. It's an easy marketing gimmick. It kind of makes sense to feature her a lot. And if you put her title on her, even better. And hell, I'd take almost anyone as the Knockouts champion over Gail right now. No offense to Gail, but I mean, how many times have we seen this? Gail as the champion accomplishes nothing. Rosemary as the champion would be something new and different. God forbid, interesting. There's nothing interesting about Gail as the champion anymore. There just isn't. And I really don't care to see her feuding with Maria. Unless Maria brings in someone else to do the wrestling for her. Do you think Masada would fit into the Decay? Masada? I don't know who... I'm not sure who that is. I'm sorry. Janice is still a thing. Yeah, unfortunately. I'm not happy about it. I think Janice is ridiculous. The whole idea of it is stupid. You can't hit someone with it. You can't use the weapon on anybody without seriously, grievously injuring them, if not killing them. So, I mean, once in a great while, if he used it once in a great while, and something horrifying always happened, at least you'd have a reason to be scared of it when that weapon comes out. But Abyss brings that weapon out all the fucking time. Almost, it's like every other segment he uses it. And we know he can't hit anybody with it. Okay, if they're not wearing a shirt, you know no one's going to get hit with it in advance because they'd have to wear the shirt to hide the way their midsection is all wrapped up to protect themselves. So the whole thing just seems cartoonish. And in those rare occasions when somebody does get hit with it, which usually means Abyss is getting hit with it, he's fine. There was one time he got hit with it, he was walking around later in the show like nothing happened. I fucking hate that stupid weapon. I wish they would never use it again. It's just dumb. Obligatory Courtney Rush reference. I agree with what FK said on Twitter. If the Bennetts are out to build a kingdom, Maria should be bringing in Cherry Bomb as part of it. Oh, that would be ideal. That would be great. Take Abyss off TV, make him a new creative writer. Yeah, you know, I'm really liking the Decay. I don't care for Abyss being part of it. People are saying that Jimmy Havoc would be a better fit with Crazy Steve and Rosemary. I'm not familiar with Jimmy Havoc, but I've seen some pictures of him, and I would probably agree with that based on the pictures I saw. Abyss's character is just they've done everything with this guy. He's TNA's answer to Kane. He's just, no matter what they do with him, I just don't care anymore. Been repackaged over and over and over again, and it's just the character is done. It just feels done to me. I just don't know what else they can do with it. So if they wanted to give Abyss a backstage role, maybe make him a writer, why not? Writers could use another voice in the creative meetings, that's for sure. Seeing her and Rush going against each other as part of a heel faction would be pretty fun. Yeah. Talbot's saying this too. They wanted to, Courtney Rush and Cherry Bomb's feud in Smash Wrestling is over as hell. Why not just bring in Cherry Bomb and just kind of do like a version of that feud? I mean, you got Courtney here. Cherry is definitely teasing that she's on the way. So why not? It makes sense. You know these two can get a feud over. It would be something new and different. Why not go for it? You could put Cherry Bomb with the Wolves, for fuck's sake. to have them say, "Oh, okay, we can handle the decay," but with Rosemary there, it's a lot more complicated. We need somebody to even the odds. They go on, they find Cherry Bomb, they bring her back, and it's 3-on-3 all of a sudden. That would be cool. Why not? It would work. Will it be a mistake if Drew Galloway would not cash in his briefcase on the UK tour or not? I feel TNA should capitalize on Galloway getting over in the UK. Plus, he just beat Kurt Angle. That's a hard question to answer. I feel like Drew cashing in the title shot would be a big selling point. On the other hand, it's a right time, right place situation. Would this be the best time for Drew to cash in? Best time for his character? Has he been positioned well? Does it make sense in the storylines? Would a loss hurt him? I think I would want to avoid Galloway taking another loss to Matt Hardy. I don't know about you. I would not want to see that again. So I can definitely understand wanting him to go for it, maybe even teasing it at one point, or several points, who knows. But ultimately, I think it's not the time, and I can understand him wanting him to go for it because he did just beat Kurt Angle, yeah. So he's got momentum, but would that carry over when they come back to the States? I don't know. He's still working on getting over in the States. Like I said, him taking another loss to Matt Hardy wouldn't help. So I don't know if Drew is entirely ready for the world title yet. And I wouldn't want to see him lose it either. So it's tough to answer. It's tough to answer, but I think it would probably be a mistake for him to go for it right now. No more big heel stables. Agreed. Do you know how to dabble at Cam Newton? No. As a Panthers fan, of freaking course. Okay, you're talking about football here. I don't watch football. I'm sorry. Her name is Gail Cena. Gail Taker, maybe. They need more knockouts. Clearly, they have really no new feuds going on. Oh, yeah. I mean, they lost Taryn and Brooke and Kong all in the last few months. So that's 3 really big names in the division that they need to replace. So they lost 3 girls who can wrestle. They need to hire a minimum of 3 girls who can wrestle. So they got Rosemary, even though she's not wrestling right now. Okay, good. That's 1. Who else you got? Presumably Cherry Bomb. Maybe she'll show up in the March TV tapings. Okay, that would be 2 if it happens. Fingers crossed on that. Who else? Keep going, TNA. You need more girls. Okay, a minimum of 3 just to replace the recent losses. You also need more than that because the division was already depleted before those losses happened. Get hiring. Now. Gail Kim needs to retire. I wouldn't say she needs to retire. I do think they need to reevaluate what her role in the knockout division should be. Because her being at the top of the division and burying everybody is accomplishing absolutely nothing anymore. I still think you could get plenty of use out of her if she was focusing more on helping the new girls rather than preventing them from becoming stars. No, if you put her in more of a utility role, where it's her job to work with the new girls and get them accustomed to TV, I think you could still get plenty of use out of Gail Kim. I don't think she needs to be at the top anymore, but right now it's like, well, who else could be at the top? Christ. They really need a lot more girls. What I dislike about the Dollhouse right now is the fact that Jade has not been sufficiently built up as a solo threat. The fact that they lost Taryn, then Kong exposes what a mistake that is. Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're going to have no choice but to start featuring Jade more and building her up more because I mean, what else do they have? What other choices do they have? She's the only heel knockout that's actively wrestling at the moment that is a threat in the ring. The only one. So I think you're going to start to see that more. At least until Rosemary starts wrestling or they get another couple of girls in there. Because they literally have, like, no choice. Okay, they might want Maria to wrestle, but is anyone optimistic about how that's going to turn out? Anyone watch the Super Bowl last weekend? No, I did not. Gail is hot and all, but this is getting annoying with her destroying the dollhouse every other week. Agreed. Jade needs to slay Gail Kim in a ladder match to capture the Knockouts title. That would be sweet. I think Jade needs to be built up more before that happens, but at some point, yeah, that would be awesome. Rosemary is better than Gail. I think she's certainly more interesting than Gail right now. Absolutely. I'm afraid the Matt Hardy brand faction will grow. Yeah, I'm also worried about that. Seems TNA just can't help themselves when they get these big heel factions at the top. It's like always the same thing ends up happening. Do you think Gail Kim is selfish of putting over other knockouts? I've wondered that. I don't know if selfish is the right word. Like, I've said this before, I think TNA have their heads so far up the ass of this idea of Gail being the greatest women's wrestler alive, and they're so in love with her that they want her to stay at the top forever. And at this point, it would be more beneficial to the Knockouts if Gail went to these people and said, "No, we got to start putting over new girls and building up new girls because I'm not going to be here forever." But she doesn't, because I think she enjoys getting the star treatment a little bit more than she should. I don't know if it's selfish as much as her God, how do I say this? Her not thinking long term. Because she's always talking about how much the knockout division means to her, and I'm sure it does. But I think she's not seeing clearly about what the best thing for the division is. Wasn't a fan of this as much as their first match. All right, to each his own. I thought this match Drew Angle 2 was better, but that's just my opinion. Do you want Rosemary to become Knockouts champion? Hell yeah, I do. That would be great. Like I said, it'd be something new and different and an easy way to tie into something big going on in pop culture right now. I think it would make a lot of sense. Have a Suicide Squad movie premiere and you got Rosemary right here. You got your own version of Harley Quinn as the Knockouts champion front and center. It makes sense to do. Gail Kim is the Melinda May of TNA. Yeah, she's also the Peggy Carter of TNA. Although if Gail Kim got impaled, I'm pretty sure she would go down at that point. Did you see Deadpool? I'm seeing it today, hopefully. Once I'm done here. I like Gail Kim, great wrestler, good-looking woman, worthy of being a top dog, but I completely agree, not building up any truly capable female to be a new threat or new true challenger to her is stupid. Yeah. And they're reaping what they sow right now. I think a part of me suspects that Kong leaving like this might turn out to be a good thing, because I think for a long time TNA have used Gail versus Kong as a crutch. I think, well, as long as we've got that feud to fall back on, we don't have to really build up anything else because Gail versus Kong is enough to sell the division. I think that was their mindset for a long time. Well, they can't do that anymore. They can't do Gale versus Taryn anymore. She's gone too. So they're in a position where they're going to have to build up new girls now because they've got no fucking choice. But yeah, I mean, they should have been building up new challengers for the title and new viable threats to Gale a long time ago, but they didn't. And maybe that was because Kong was always there. Maybe it was for some other reason, I don't know. But they're going to have to start doing it now. Because what else can they do? Yeah, save me once. Melinda May references to the total win for me. Okay. Great match from Drew and Kurt. Yep. How are you still watching this shit? Am I still watching? Well, you know, the show has been pretty good for the most part. I don't know if you've been watching since Pop TV, since the Pop TV debut, but the shows haven't had a bad show yet. I mean, there have been issues, sure, but the shows have generally been pretty good for the most part. Same reason a lot of people still watch WWE, even though they hate it. The wrestlers, they do it for a radio show. Kurt Angle definitely put over Drew Galloway. Yeah, that was a pretty classy thing for him to do, tapping out like that. Not often you see Kurt Angle tapping out. That hasn't happened very much. Drew, I think, has proven he should be a champion. Clearly, he is the best wrestler in the main event scene by far. You could make that argument, yeah. I still think... I mean, wrestling-wise, he's got it. You know, all the tools are there. He looks like a main eventer when he's in the ring. He looks like a world champion caliber talent. I think the only problem is his character. They're still trying to figure out how to make that work with the U.S. audience. Because character-wise, he feels kind of stale. I think a heel turn would help at some point. Give him something other than the stand-up thing, because that didn't work out. And he's still kind of doing it. And it's just not... It didn't totally click when the Rising were a thing, and now it's like, well, just do something else with him. Because you can make this guy into a world champion without too much effort. It just takes a little bit of thought. What's up with Matt Hardy's haircut? I appreciate that Matt tried to change up his look when he turned heel. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change your act when your character changes. That's good. I don't think the haircut really works for him because I think it makes him look older, and you're kind of exposing his bald spots a little bit too much. Maybe he should have just gone for broke and shaved it all off. Gone for a buzz cut, maybe. Because the hair kind of slicked back. It doesn't... I don't think it looks as good as he thinks it does. I love that Matt tried to basically say everything he did was because of EC3 using the domino effect. Maybe there was a little bit of truth to that. Guess it's something a heel would do. You know, blaming everybody else, blaming the other guy for why he turned heel. Yeah, the justification works. I still question the execution of it, though. If Russo was booking TNA, then Rockstar Spud would turn heel on EC3 real soon. Just saying. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen. What are your thoughts on AR Fox? I don't really have that many. He's a talented high flyer. I saw him at an indie show once. I mean, he had the best match of the night. The only problem is he was no-selling like it was going out of style. Man, he did some big spots, took some big bumps, and he just stood up and shook them off like they were nothing. So I think the guy is talented, but he's got to learn how to sell. What do you think of the TNA staff now having to use the basement of their offices as the base of operations? What? Is that a thing? I Couldn't they just use their offices as their base of operations? Why are they in the basement? I'm not sure what you're saying here. I wish Jeff could get revenge on Matt and Eric Young. Well, presumably he will, just not on the UK tour because he can't leave the country because of those pesky drug trafficking charges. Heel Matt Hardy is at his best when he's trolling and talking about internet nobodies and building himself up as Big Money Matt, trying to tell a serious story on the mic, on the other hand, kind of gets a bit cold. Yeah, I saw that video of him reading mean tweets, doing the Jimmy Kimmel thing. I saw that video. That was actually funny. I enjoyed that. That was entertaining. So I think you're right about that, because when he's trolling people, he seems like he's having more fun. When he's trying to be serious, that's when it doesn't work as well. So if they could tweak his character into being more of a troll, it might work a little better. I think Gail needs to continue wrestling because she's the glue holding the knockout division together. Well, yeah, I don't see any reason for her to stop wrestling. I think they just need to change the way they use her. I wish all the knockouts beat up Reby Sky and Maria. Look, I don't condone what Awesome Kong did in that incident with Reby backstage. That's when you're in the workplace, you got to be a professional. So there's no excuse for stuff like that. Having said that, from what little I know about Reby, she seems like the kind of person who really needs her ass kicked on occasion, because she seems like a really unlikable person. She put out a bunch of tweets, which I think have been deleted since then, but basically mocking Kong for being fired. Is that necessary? Do you really have to do that? And, telling the fans to fuck off on Twitter because they question whether bringing the baby out to the ring is a good idea, whether it's safe for the baby, that's a legitimate concern. I'm sorry. That kid is going to go fucking deaf being around the live mics. I'm one of those people. I don't think the baby should be out there at all. And she's just telling the fans to fuck off. Well, maybe there's a reason why people are concerned about this, Reby. I'm just saying. Again, don't condone what Kong did, but I can understand somebody wanting to kick Reby Sky's ass. I can understand it. I wish Ethan beat up Tyrus. Well, he did on this show. Do you mean shoot-wise? I don't think there's any reason for that. Do you guys think we could see Bryan return someday? The guy has the same injury Shawn Michaels had that put him out for over a decade, and Michaels made a comeback. Maybe Bryan can one day soon. Anything's possible, but I would doubt it. I heard that he was having seizures because of the concussions, and that's kind of a scary thing. That's getting into Chris Benoit territory. Where you're probably risking brain damage if you continue getting hit in the head, and I wouldn't want that to happen. I mean, if it's a question of health and safety, then I'm okay with Bryan retiring. I'm going to miss the guy like hell, but I don't want him to continue wrestling or try to return to wrestling and then just get hurt or mess up his brain. I mean, the guy you got to think about the guy's future and his health and stuff. Is it really a good idea to have Rosemary wrestle after what Gail has done to the Dollhouse? Well, it's a good idea to have Rosemary wrestle in that they desperately need new faces in the knockout division. Rosemary just getting buried by Gail is a huge concern that I have and would continue to have. I want her to face Gail if there was some assurance that this would not happen. Because at this point, there's no reason for Gail to be burying anybody. But yeah, is it a good idea to have Rosemary wrestle? Yeah. She's a good wrestler. The division could use her. It's just not a good idea to have Gail do to her what she does to everybody else. I also said, for historical reasons, TNA needs to keep the Knockouts title on Gail so she can break Taryn's record. Why? Is it is there a reason why they have to break Taryn's record? It's not like Taryn left the company on bad terms. It's not like they desperately need to erase her from the record books. I don't see why that's necessary. A whole bunch of new questions. Holy shit. Holy crap. Okay, here we go. As for the sounds, are you for real? The crowd was much louder for Ethan's pop than we got to hear on the show. Holy crap, considering we're talking about your new top babyface, that's a huge gaffe. Yeah, there are videos that fans took during the show, like live reactions in the arena. Watch those and then watch the segment where EC3 came out. He got a huge pop. Bands were singing like oh, they were singing along with his music and everything. It just didn't come off as well on the show. I mean, you could hear a reaction, but it was, I mean, compared to the live reaction from those videos taken in the arena, there's no comparison. It was all down to the crowd being mic'd poorly. And at this stage, there's no excuse for that shit. If your audio guy can't do the job, hire someone who will. It's not complicated. Let's see. Haircut looks good. Thank you. Coming in pretty quickly. Good. I mean, it is nice to have short hair again, so I don't have to really do anything to it. I mean, I kind of miss my long hair, but it's nice just being able to roll out of bed in the morning, and I don't have to do anything to get ready. I can just put my clothes on, brush my teeth, and I'm out the door. That's helpful. How long until Grado gets rehired? Probably by the end of the UK tour. How many knockouts should they bring in at their next shows? Okay, well, they need a minimum of 3 to replace Taryn Kong, and Brooke. So those are the 3 that left recently. So they need a minimum of 3 to replace those, and then they need more to just shore up the division, add some more depth to it, because they didn't have that many girls before those losses happened. No, they don't have to bring in them all at once. I think there's something interesting they could do with that, because in my opinion, the knockout division could use some kind of big angle to really shake up the status quo. I think bringing in a whole bunch of girls all at once would do that. I mean, I've done fantasy booking stuff where I suggested things like that. I think at least one new girl for each new set of TV tapings. At least. I mean, you got a couple of months in between each set of TV tapings. You can do that. So, I want to see at the very least one new girl when they tape TV in March. It can be Cherry Bomb. That's cool. But then a couple months later when they do TV again, want to see another new girl. You know, Jen Blake, fucking, who else? Veda Scott or Hanaya or somebody. I think Corgan would know to have better production. Possibly. You can usually tell when Corgan produces a segment. You know, he produces the Dollhouse segments, and those tend to look differently from everything else on the show. I think it's a pretty safe bet that he's producing the Decay, too. And you can tell. I think when they start doing backstage segments, they'll probably have a different look and a different aesthetic, just like the Dollhouse segments used to. So yeah, I think Corgan probably has different ideas about what makes a good production. He probably thinks of things that the current production team doesn't. So if they wanted to give him more power in that area, I think it would be a good idea. Grado is good. He's the Scottish Colt Cabana. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Now, Colt Cabana is funny. That's the big difference. Grado ain't funny. He's an irritating jackass. If Eli Drake gets fired for Grado, I'm not going to be happy. Hopefully, keeping Grado around is just for the UK tour and to help Eli get heel heat. I hope to God that's all it is. At least the UK arena and crowd were good. Yeah, they were good. You just couldn't hear them that well. Who currently, right now, do you see TNA pushing as the new top guys? Not including Hardy's, Angle, Storm, Rude, EY, or Abyss. Not including those people. Probably Galloway. I think you're going to see a Lashley being used more in that regard. Who else? My guess is they're going to put Mike Bennett on the fast track. I think you probably use more time to get established first, but that's probably where they're going with him. EC3, of course. I'm freaking tired of Matt Hardy as champ. I'm tired of seeing and hearing backstage politicking bitch of a wife. Oh, you're tired of him as the champ already, huh? Well, it's only been a couple of weeks. I think you're gonna people are gonna be playing the backstage politicking card since Matt is on the working with creative, so that's gonna be a thing that people bring up a lot. Of course, Rebby, love it or hate it, has a certain amount of political power being in the position she's in. Didn't look like she caught any heat for the Awesome Kong situation. I'm not saying she should have, but people should have been looking at both sides of that at least. I see Eli Drake, Jesse Goddard's, Robbie E, EC3, Spud, Mandrews, Bram, Drew Galloway, and Lashley as new main eventers in TNA. Really? Robbie E? Really? Okay. If you say so. Really? Robbie? What indie wrestlers would currently help with the roster? Man, I'm not familiar with a lot of the indie talent out there. I hear a lot about this dude Will Ospreay. Who they're using on the UK tour. I'm not familiar with him, but he's one of these people people are saying sign that guy. I think he's signed a deal with New Japan, so that's probably out. But I guess he's one. Matt Taven gets mentioned a lot. Of course, Cherry Bomb, Jen Blake, people like that. Just off the top of my head. I'm sick of seeing Matt Hardy's kid trotted out to the ring all the time, and you get Tyrus as a babysitter, maybe take some parenting classes. Yeah, I don't think the kid should be out there. I think it's stupid. It's not good parenting. I worry for the kid's safety, not because of anything necessarily happening to him as part of the show, but, years ago, I knew a guy who was deaf in one ear because a gunshot went off too close to him when he was a baby. And he actually lost the hearing in one ear because of that. I worry that something like that's going to happen to the kid. Because babies have really sensitive hearing. And you're putting Maxwell in front of these big crowds that make a lot of noise. And you're putting him in front right next to these live mics that are very loud. How is that going to be good for the kid? I said, just having him out there just feels like a really bad idea to me. Apparently, Rebby Hardy vehemently disagrees. EC3 is the new face of the company, which is something I've been needing since AJ was released. Agreed. I vote you to become the new president of TNA. Understand pro wrestling? Yeah. I'd make a lot of changes to that company. Yeah, definitely. Also, Mike Bennett going to be one of the top stars, main eventers in TNA. Yeah, it seems like he's on that fast track. They could have saved Drew and Angle for this show. Well, they did. I mean, you saying it should have been their first match? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think no, I was fine with doing it the way they did. Like I said, I don't necessarily think Drew needed to win the first match. I think it gave him something to shoot for, gave him a mountain to climb, a hurdle to overcome, and he won the second one. He got put over. He got put over really well, making Angle tap out. I don't think they needed to save the first one for this show at all. Do you think it's more difficult to book Spud because of him being so small? Not difficult. I think they just need to be more creative. I mean, there are things you can do with a guy who is that size. Make him the underdog or make him like a Weasley type of heel. I think he's played both roles very well. They made him basically a toady for Dixie and EC3, and he made that work. It's harder booking him as a wrestler, but I think he can pull it off. He's done it very capably in the past. Truly Hobo Hardy. Trevor Lee looks like a caveman. Yeah, I really want them to do something different with his look. Maybe get him some different gear, or maybe give him a haircut, or trim the beard or something. Something to make him look like less of a homeless person. And the guy seems to be talented, but change up his look, please. I think Trevor Lee looking like a hobo is kind of the point, considering one of his nicknames is the Carolina Caveman. Okay, well, get him some gear that accentuates that. If that's the point, okay, well then take the fact that he looks like that, make it part of the gimmick. I don't think they've mentioned his look at all. The announcers should be, if that's the point, then the announcers should be playing it up. They should be mentioning his look a lot. It's like, well, this guy looks like he just walked in off the street. Okay, well, that's the point, because he doesn't care about making himself presentable. He doesn't bother to look like he's wrestling on TV because he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. All right, make that part of the character. Don't just not mention it, because when you not mention it, it just seems like you don't care. Is it just me, or does Mike Bennett's promos seem like he's trying to channel somewhat of the CM Punk character? Or does Bennett in his promos come off like he's trying to channel some of the CM Punk? CM Punk character? I wouldn't say that. I think he's probably taking elements from different characters. I wouldn't say CM Punk is one. I don't see a lot of similarities there. The acerbic wit is not the same. I think Punk was a lot sharper tongued than Bennett is. But no, I don't really see it, honestly. I think TNA probably asked Trevor Lee to change his gear, but I agree. He needs to change up Trevor Lee's look and be more presentable. All right. Because I think right now Trevor Lee is here. I think to make the gimmick and make the gimmick work, if they really are going with like the caveman type of thing, he needs to go a lot more in this direction if they want to push that, or he needs to ditch the caveman thing and look more presentable, going more in this direction. Right now he got to go here or here. Right now he's still stuck in the middle. CM Punkish. Mike Bennett and CM Punk. I'm not seeing it, dude. I'm gonna punch my neighbor in the face upstairs if she doesn't take off her damn heels walking across the hardwood floors. Okay, thank you for sharing. I kind of want to see how Rosemary can wrestle and interact with either knockouts with her gimmick. She could be good in the ring and give Gail and Jade a run for their money. I want to see that too. This is not a case like Raquel where she just started training and she's incredibly green and she's only had like two or three matches. No, Rosemary's got plenty of experience. She's been wrestling for years in the indies. She can handle herself. So there's really no reason to delay her in-ring debut. I like that they're establishing her character first, and I think it's helping her get over with the audience, but at the same time, you don't really have a whole lot going on in the knockouts right now, and they could really use her, so maybe it's time to accelerate that timetable a little bit. I like Bennett, but what is the Miracle gimmick supposed to be? I haven't seen anything miraculous from him yet. Well, he's the miracle that's going to save pro wrestling. I think it's just meant to show how arrogant the guy is. There are probably things they could do with the gimmick that they haven't done yet. But he's only been there a couple weeks. The Decay is a recycled gimmick like every other creepy group TNA has had. They should try to do something more like the Suicide Squad. Dude, that's exactly what they're doing. Steve and Rosemary are Joker and Harley. Do you not see it? That's exactly what they're doing. Maybe there are a few similarities, but I think at least those two are certainly doing enough to make it unique and not like something we've seen before. You see that video promo that Steve did, hyping up the match with the Wolves? So he's got the signs, and then he tears the picture in half, and then he's just looking into the camera with blood dripping down his face. That shit is creepy. And Rosemary's totally unique. Man, TNA have done creepy groups in the past, sure, but I think these two are doing enough that they feel like they can stand on their own. Pretty sure the idea is Raquel seducing Lashley into a heel to turn her into a heel turn as her meal ticket. Personally, I'm in favor of pretending MVP sent her as a way of extending an olive branch to Lashley. That's probably what they're going for, but in the Raquel hype video, she said that payback for somebody was coming. What's that about? Payback for who? She has no history with anybody on the roster. And what does that have to do with Lashley? Is she trying to get him on her side so she can use him to deal out pain to somebody else? And if so, who? The idea that Mike and Maria basically think they're gods. Yeah, that seems accurate. Do you like Mike Bennett's theme? It may be Dale Oliver's best work in years. Really? Really? I like the first part of it with Maria, that plays over Maria's intro when she's just introducing him. But when Bennett comes out, I was like, no, I don't like that at all. Dale Oliver's best work in years, wow, I completely disagree. I think that is a absolutely horrid intro theme. Like, it's bad. It's really fucking bad. They should take the first part that plays when Maria's talking and do like a souped up version of that. Like the tempo picks up and like more instruments or whatever. I'm not a music producer. I don't know anything about music, but just have it do like a jazzed up version of that instead of segueing into the terrible whatever that is when Bennett comes out. It's awful. It's fucking awful. The first part is alright, just work with that. And extend that. Don't no. Masada from Combat Zone Wrestling. No, I don't know who he is. Mike Bennett's theme sounds dumb. Agreed. Ricochet and Evan Bourne. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen Matt Sydal lately. Can he still go? I know the dude got hurt pretty bad. If he can still go, sure. I mean, he'd be a good fit in the X division. I don't know if they do anything with him. Ricochet, same thing. I actually like the Decay group. It's very interesting, and I agree Jimmy Havoc would be better with the Decay, and I think Abyss doesn't fit in the group. All right, a lot of people seem to be saying that about Jimmy Havoc. I'm not familiar with the guy, but I would prefer they try him out as Steve's partner and have Abyss be more of like a bodyguard, just a heavy type, because I think it would be a good idea to just limit Abyss's involvement, because I really don't care about the guy anymore. What is your obsession with Cherry Bomb at TNA? Well, I've been talking about Cherry Bomb a lot recently because, one, she's somebody who should have been signed by a big company a long time ago, and unlike other people, there's a good chance that they might actually get her. You know, they've used her a number of times to the point where she must be on the short list for new candidates for new knockouts by now. So if they're going to be replenishing the female roster, and they pretty much have to at this point, she's got to be one of the people they're looking at. So that's why I'm talking about her a lot, because there's a good chance that her getting signed might actually happen. And I would really like it to. I'm hoping Jimmy Havoc, TNA will sign him, and I think Cherry Bomb will debut at TNA soon with her husband Pepper Parks. So I don't see putting the Wolves with Cherry Bomb. Yeah, it would be more likely that she'd be paired with Pepper if they're bringing him in too, because it seems like TNA are bringing managers back. Of course, they've already got a husband and wife pairing, so I don't know if they'd be doing anything new. I still I would like to see Cherry Bomb teaming with the Wolves, though. I think that would be really awesome. Plus, it makes sense for them to bring in a girl to help them with the Decay. I think Abyss being the familiar face to help bring the Decay along in the beginning is fine. I wouldn't have a problem with a suitable replacement a few months down the road. Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I mean, put Jimmy Havoc in there, and then transition into them being more of the tag team. That's fine. Abyss might be in there for like familiarity. I don't know that has to go on too long though. Plus, one of the Wolves being injured right now. Yeah, Davey has some kind of ACL injury apparently, but that doesn't happen until the end of the tour. So they've got a number of shows before the injury happens. So throw the Decay at Beer Money, have them feud, and put Cherry Bomb with Beer Money. That would work too. Do you think Devon's kids will ever cash in their tag title shot? Probably not. No, I think after the Pope tried to become their new father or whatever the hell that storyline was about, no, they're probably staying away. Let's have Cherry and Pepper debut against the Decay, and someone else come help them out. Problem solved. Trouble is, that still leaves the question of what woman Maria should be bringing in to manage. If we're assuming Maria's bringing in a new woman to manage, I think Jennifer Blake would be a great choice. Apparently, she's free right now. You know, she's been retweeting people who saying that TNA should sign her, so she's interested. And hell, I mean, you're not going to find a more prepackaged talent that hasn't been involved in WWE, because she's TV ready. She's worked in AAA for years. She knows how to perform on television. She knows what it takes. So she could probably just come in and hit the ground running. I think Jen Blake would be a fucking great choice for that. And she's somebody that they should be looking at if they're not already. Raka Khan? Oh, fuck no. I hope that was a joke. Hoping Rebby will be wrestling. That would make 3. It would, but I don't know if that's something Rebby's looking to do anymore. As far as I know, she has not wrestled since she had the kid. So maybe it's just she doesn't want to... Maybe she just doesn't want to wrestle at this point. You know, that happens, because when you have a kid, your priorities change. You know, in that vein, it looks like Angelina returning to wrestling after she has her kid is not a sure thing. I think she was asked about that on Twitter. He said, are you going to come back to wrestling after you have the baby? She says, anything's possible. So it's... You know, Angelina could come back to wrestling, but it doesn't look like it's a certainty. And I guess you could say the same thing with Rebby. Right now, she's not wrestling, so we can't really count on her to help the knockouts. I don't want to see TNA going back to the Impact Zone for the March tapings, but I guess they have no choice. They don't have anywhere else for the tapings. I don't think anyone wants them to go back to the Impact Zone. That place has become an albatross around their neck. But the bottom line is they do it because they save a lot of money. So it's a financial necessity, even if it kind of hinders the show in a lot of ways. Pepper Parks and Cherry Bomb and TNA, they should jump into a feud with Maria and Mike Bennett. I don't know, because then you've got 2 really new acts feuding with each other. And I don't know what there is to be accomplished in that. I think a better idea is to play the new people off the established guys to help the new people become established. Because, I mean, if you wanted to feud those 2, I think you just have 2 acts that are kind of figuring out how to get over. And that doesn't necessarily work. I had the idea of actually teaming them up. Making the 4 of them a unit. Because it makes sense. I mean, you got the 2 married couples working together. I think that would be a better idea, personally. Because they seem so similar in a lot of ways. I'm fine with the Impact Zone for Impact tapings, but I've been saying for years they should never host a pay-per-view there again. Okay. Yeah, I would prefer they take pay-per-views on the road, at the very least. But again, it's a belt-tightening measure. Turn of Scott Steiner? No. Just no. As for Matt Hardy, Brand, it's going to be Helms and Trevor that join. They've been teasing that on Twitter. Yeah. So we're going to have a big Omega faction on Impact all of a sudden. That's how you know Matt's in creative ear when stuff like that happens. Yeah, so I'm half expecting that. Would people still bitch and moan if it were still Jeff feuding with EC3 instead of Fat Lardy? I think people would find a way to bitch and moan about everything. I think a lot of people would be more accepting if it was Jeff. And now, people always complain about something. Would you like the Decay to hold both tag titles and the Knockouts title at the same time? Yes. I think that's something that should happen. Again, you've got the Suicide Squad movie. There's your own version of Joker and Harley. It makes sense to push them right now. Put belts on them. Okay? The Wolves don't need the tag belts anymore. Beer Money don't need the tag belts right now. I think Beer Money would be more interesting chasing the titles for a while. Plus, it would help establish the Decay as a force. You know, a lot of people seem to be really digging this this group. So push them. You get free fucking promotion with the Suicide Squad movie. It makes sense. It really does. I just realized that Abyss, Matt Hardy, and Tyrus are the only wrestlers on the roster who are over the age of 40. TNA's roster has gotten much younger in the past few years, which is a good thing. Tyrus is over 40? Really? I didn't know that. Huh. Why not? A dominant stable with reduced numbers and not associated with the big bad for once. And again, it's pretty culturally relevant right now. Agreed. Why should we give a shit about Gregory Helms? Well, he's a guy who's done things in WCW and WWE. He's a name, maybe not a big name, but he's somebody that people recognize. And he has been, a champion. He was a cruiserweight champion. He's a guy who could probably give some kind of a rub. Maybe not a big one, but he could increase Trevor Lee's visibility because people will recognize Gregory Shane Helms. So hopefully that'll carry over and they'll learn to recognize Trevor Lee. According to the Observer, they used to have a staff on the third floor of a TV studio in the basement. Now they've moved their staff into the basement with the TV studio. Cost-cutting move. Oh, the Observer said that, huh? Well, and then I don't listen to it. I have very little respect for the Wrestling Observer's news reports when it comes to TNA. I think they make a lot of that stuff up. I don't really buy that story. TNA using the basement for their offices or whatever. Looks like it's just another Meltzer BS story to throw stones at TNA for some reason. Yeah. That's my viewpoint on that. I heard Reby Sky might be wrestling soon. So that equals number 3, along with Cherry Bomb and Rosemary. Okay, well, Cherry Bomb's not necessarily a sure thing. I think it's a pretty good bet. Not yet. If Reby's going to be wrestling soon, okay. All right. Should probably watch some of her matches. I'm not terribly familiar with her, but that would be something. That basement... Whoa. Okay. All right. Get your last questions in right now. Because I'm going to put the cutoff point here because I'd like to get to the movies and see Deadpool. So I'm going to put our end point here for the night, and then I'll answer the last of these questions, and then we can call it a day. And... there you go. Okay. Holy moly. Seems both times Kong got fired from TNA were her being understandably upset with dumb shit, but reacting with an unprofessional violence. Much as I hate to admit it, TNA had to cut her both times. Yeah, it seems like their hands were kind of tied there. I mean, maybe there was some gray area with the first one, because, fuck Bubba the Love Sponge. That guy's a piece of trash. And, he shouldn't have been there anyway, for fuck's sake. But, the second time... the first time, maybe you could have let her off with a warning or a suspension or a reprimand or something, but the second time, I think they kind of had to fire her. Especially if the baby was in the area, which it seems to have been. That's just, that you can't tolerate something like that. You really can't. So I think their hands were tied the second time. It's unfortunate, but you can't have shit like that happening in the workplace. You just can't. How much longer will we get the Wolves versus Beer Money? Well, Davey got injured at the end of the tour. So, another 5-6 weeks. And I'm not sure how many shows they have taped. You get like a month of it. So they're going to have at least one match. Probably. I had no idea Tyrus was over 40. Thought he was at least 30, between like 35 and 37. Yeah, I'm surprised too. I did not think he was that old. That's comes as a shock to me. Awesome Kong should have won the Knockouts title before she got fired. Oh well. Eh. I think Kong being the champion isn't so different from Gail being the champion. It's like at that point. It's like, well, what else can you do with it? I was in favor of her winning the title from Gail a little while ago, just because I think there were more story possibilities with her and Jade that way. But in retrospect, they're lucky they didn't put the title on her, because now they would have had to fire her, and then they would have had to crown a new champion. It just would have been really awkward. At least this way they avoided that. Bryan has repeatedly cleared by every doctor he's gone to except the WWE guy. I agree that it's good to be concerned for his health, but I don't think he's in as bad a shape as some fear. Maybe. I guess it would depend on the doctor, but who knows? We don't really know how bad his health is, or what his condition really is. I get the sense that his decision to retire was probably a late-breaking one. Maybe he got some kind of news from the doctor. Maybe they ran some new tests and the results weren't positive, and that gave him a new perspective on something that he didn't have until then. Because it seemed until pretty recently he was still working under the assumption that he could return. So I think something new probably happened. Brain damage. Oh shit. Well, yeah, if he's risking brain damage, then yeah, dude needs to stay out of the ring. That's really unfortunate, but we don't want another Chris Benoit situation. We really don't. Gail keeping the title to break Taryn's record just because? That's total petty McMahon move, and I wouldn't be at all for it. Yeah, I agree. There's no reason to do that. I mean, they kept the Divas title on Nikki Bella for God most of the year. Why? Just so they can break AJ Lee's record? Who cares? Who cares? You're the only ones who give a shit about that, WWE. Would Nikki Bella, of all people, have been the champion under any other the champion that long under any other circumstances? Who gives a shit? Nobody cares about the Bella twins anymore. Maybe they've got some fans, but for fuck's sake, the way their characters have been written and booked is just completely asinine. I think WWE prevents you from caring about them because they turn face heel like every fucking week. I just find it impossible to give a shit about the Bella twins anymore. Not that I ever did before, but still. Daniel Bryan for Hall of Fame. I think if not this year, then next year. I think he deserves to be like the main guy going in, like the main attraction. Maybe if they feel like they don't have enough star power in the this year's class, they could put him in there. Might be a selling point for WrestleMania, which they could certainly use more of, quite frankly. Are you going to be reviewing Deadpool? We could talk about it if you want on Thursday. Yeah, certainly. I'll give you my thoughts if you want them. Kaz and Daniels to feud with the Wolves. Well, Davey's on the shelf right now. I would love it if they got Bad Influence back. Or the Addiction, or whatever they want to call themselves now, because I think it was complete horseshit that they let those guys get away. Because they were one of the most entertaining things, if not the most entertaining act in the whole company at that time. Concussions are not something to joke about. Some people need to accept that Bryan is retired for good. This is nothing like HBK's back injury, 2 different injuries. Yeah. Once you get into the possibility of brain damage, that's a slippery slope. That's scary business. I never heard about HBK having a concussion problem, though. I always thought it was the back injury that put him out. I just thought that either Gail, Angelina, Velvet Madison, or Kong should hold the longest reign instead of keeping record on Taryn until Tina can find a new girl who they can trust long term. I don't see what the big deal is about Taryn holding the record. If you want somebody to break that record, do it because there's a good. Do it because she's the right person at the right time with the right story to do it. Don't just do it to break the record for no other reason. And don't have Gail break the record just because you want the record broken. That's what leads to a boring title reign, which is what we've gotten. It's like right now they're keeping the belt on her just to keep it on her. If you want to break Taryn's record, go for it. But make sure you get the right story in place to do it. With enough, storylines and rivalries and feuds to keep the title reign compelling for that length of time. If you can't do that, then don't try to break the fucking record. If I had to choose, maybe Jade could have the longest reign when she wins her first title. I wouldn't be against that, but I just don't think there are a lot of good options right now. The fact is, the Knockout roster as it is right now is not big enough or deep enough or compelling enough to sustain anyone having a title reign for that length of time. Okay, if you put the title on Jade, okay, great. Who does she feud with? Who can give her enough compelling feuds to last long enough to break the record? Well, you could have her feud with Gail. That would last, you could get a couple months out of that. Assuming she beats Gail, then who does she feud with next? Velvet? That's not going to work out. Her and Madison could have some good matches, but Madison can't really get over. She's always had trouble getting over. So that could be like maybe a 1 month thing. Then after that, who else is there? I think Gail and Madison and Velvet are the only babyface knockouts they have right now. Maybe you could break Jade off from the dollhouse and feud her with Marty. Get maybe a month out of that. After that, you'd have to bring in some new people, or at least get Rosemary wrestling. So yeah, I think if anyone is going to break that record, you need a much deeper female roster. You need more fucking girls to pull it off. Do you think we will see Magnus back at TNA at some time this year, since we don't know what the deal is with Global Force Wrestling? He's the current GFW champion, but so what? GFW is doing nothing. I would not be surprised if they coaxed him back. I know he didn't leave on the best terms. He was kind of wanting to move on at that point, but if it seems like a better option for him financially, I think they could get him back. There was a certain amount of buzz and hype around GFW when he left for that company. Fast forward a couple months, and that buzz has died down. Jeff made a lot of promises and said, we're acting like GFW is going to be like the next big thing in the wrestling business. It's going to revolutionize everything, and none of that stuff has happened. They have not been able to secure a TV deal. Basically, they're just a big indie company that's talking a big game and not delivering. So if, a company with TV is going to seem like a better option than a company without TV most of the time. So, I'm not saying it would happen next week or next month, but I think at some point I would not be surprised if Magnus came back. How about Matt defending the world title against EC3 and Jeff Hardy in a 3-way Full Metal Mayhem match? I don't see the need to make it another Full Metal Mayhem match. I think they've done too many of those. I could see a triple threat at some point. Yeah, definitely. Robbie E. from what... Oh, boy. Yes, Robbie E. From what TNA have been using of Robbie E. during those King of the Mountain matches last year, that I've seen him improve a lot since he first debuted. Was Robbie in King of the Mountain matches? I don't remember that. I will agree that his matches are better since he's wrestling a babyface ring style. I still don't find the guy interesting at all. I still wouldn't call him a great worker. No, I still find that guy to be completely overrated, in my opinion. You can feel free to disagree if you want, but I've never thought he was that good. Why the Dollhouse brought the chair in the ring only to kick it out of the ring when Gale shows up. I don't know. That's a good... Okay, if you didn't notice this, during the knockout segment after the match, the Dollhouse brought in this chair to hit Madison with it. And then Gale's music plays, and she runs down the ramp. And I think it was Jade just kind of tossed the chair to the side. Why? You could have used that. What happened there? I don't know. Maybe there was some kind of miscommunication with the script and the producers or something. But that was an awkward moment. It's like, why get rid of the chair? You're gonna need that against Gale. I don't know why they did that either. That was odd. Forgot to mention, Josh did make a reference on commentary during the title match last week about how Trevor doesn't care about being social and whatnot. But yeah, they could go further with that. Did he? Must have missed that. But if they're serious about making that part of the gimmick, they should be playing it up more than they do. So it's good that he mentioned it, but mention it a lot more. Have other people on the show mention it as well. Apparently, they become stupid and inept in Gale's presence. Yeah, pretty much. Gale seems to have that effect on a lot of people. Ricochet has that deal with Lucha Underground, so TNA wants to stay away from that. Oh, yeah, if there's any possibility that... Yeah, they don't want to poke that hornet's nest again. After the Hernandez debacle, which, again, they could have easily avoided if they just called Lucha Underground and asked about Hernandez's contract status. I don't see why that had to be a big thing. I mean, you can easily find out what the contract status is so they could avoid future problems in that area. But maybe they're gun-shy now. That video from Steve made me think he's actually taking cues and learning from the lady, seeing her Cherry Bomb-related vignettes, anyone? Oh, yeah. Courtney Rush's video promos about the feud with Cherry Bomb and Smash Wrestling, those are awesome. Very horror movie-esque. I love what she's done with those. Veda Scott with or without glasses? Oh, with glasses. Those girls with glasses are hot. I'm sorry. I love nerdy girls like that. No, keep the glasses. She should wear the glasses all the time. Ricochet and Evan Bourne are the current reigning defending IWGP World Tag Team Champions. Okay, so I guess Matt Sydal landed on his feet after the injury. Okay, good. I got a bad feeling that Rebby Sky could be Karen Jarrett 2.0. There are similarities, yeah. I think that is a concern that I have. What if they put Kaylee Ray or Solo Darling with the Wolves to take on the Decay? Oh, Kaylee Ray. Totally. Solo... I don't dislike Solo Darling, I guess, but she wouldn't fit with the Wolves. No, her character is completely different. Plus, Kaylee Ray wrestles that high-risk style that would really fit with them. Imagine them doing like 3 stereo suicide dives all at once. Kaylee Ray would fit with the Wolves really well. That would be great. Matt Hardy versus EC3 in a hair versus career match. Matt's bald. Would it be really funny, just like Vinnie Mac? It might be interesting to see Matt freaking out about having to lose his hair when he doesn't really have much left to begin with. That'd be funny. If Shauna's still working now, would it be a good time to come calling to her too? Yeah, she's still wrestling. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't sign her when she had that match on Explosion on the UK tour a while back. I thought that match went really well. I mean, she waited a little too long to make a pin attempt on Gale in that one spot, which is really just a timing issue. Because she was selling, I think, a superplex spot a little bit too much. Other than that, she looked great. She matched up with Gale well. She got the crowd behind her. She looked like a pro out there. I don't know why they didn't sign her then. God knows they could use more girls who know what they're doing now. So fuck yeah. I'm sure she'd take a contract if they offered her one. And honestly, these impacts are getting quite boring. It feels like it's missing something every week. The program is so stale, it doesn't even feel like a big-time event, especially being overseas. Really? I disagree. I think the World Title Series episodes got boring. Since that ended and they debuted on Pop TV, I think for the most part the shows have been good. Maybe not like A+ shows, but they've been enjoyable. I haven't found them boring at all. So no, I would disagree with that. Do Madison Rayne and Sting use the same hair treatment because someone needs to tell them it's not working? Madison Rayne and Sting? How do you see any similarities between their haircuts? Aside from them both having dark hair right now, I don't get it. Madison also has kids and she still wrestles. Well, she has a kid. Christy has a kid, but mostly just announces. Taryn and Mickey, but Taryn retired and have no idea if Mickey still wrestles. Well, yeah, Mickey still wrestles. She's wrestling for GFW right now. Well, Christy had retired from wrestling before she had her kid, as I understand it. That was due to injuries. Madison had a kid and returned to wrestling, but, maybe she's in a different place in her life than Angelina is. And, Angelina, I think, is a little more injury-prone. And I think she's also a couple years older than Madison. And maybe she's just at a different place in her life. We don't really know. It depends on the person. Rebby appeared to have stopped wrestling after she gave birth. Angelina could be the same way. We just don't know. It's going to be different in every case. Do you think Global Force is dead? Well, no, they're not dead. I mean, they're still running shows. I think they're about to do a tour of the UK, actually. So they're not dead just because they can't secure a TV deal at this moment in time. It seems like they're doing enough to stay in business at least. Even though all the stuff that Double J promised has not happened. Oh, hold on. How long before Finn Balor comes up to the main roster? It'll probably come up after WrestleMania. I think Samoa Joe will win the NXT title at NXT TakeOver before Mania. Plus, the main roster is hurting even though Balor might get booked bad. I think after WrestleMania. That's usually when these people get called up. If they could, I guess they could bring him up now, but I mean, what could they really do with him? I mean, WrestleMania is not that far away. I mean, would there be time to put him in some kind of storyline or a feud? Maybe they'd want to just to get another quote-unquote name on the show because the roster is so thin right now with everybody injured. So they might do it just because they don't really feel like they have a choice. But creative-wise, I think they'd really be rushing that. I think after WrestleMania would be a better time, honestly. Of course, they may not have a choice in that regard. Tyrus is 42. Wow. Okay. All right. A couple of these people got their questions in right after I posted the line, so I'll do these last couple of questions here, and then we'll call it a day. Shane Helms versus Trevor Lee in Ultimate X by the end of the year? No, I don't want to see that. I don't even know if Helms is still wrestling. I know he got into like a motorcycle accident or something and couldn't wrestle for a long time, so the guy's probably beat up all to hell at this point. Plus, I'm not really a fan of one-on-one Ultimate X's. I think to have a really great Ultimate X, you need at least 3 guys. Because there are spots you can do with 3 people that you can't do with 2. And I don't know if Shane Helms would be up to taking those big bumps anyway. So, no, I don't. I would not want to see that. Do you see Spud being the world champion? No. No, that would be pushing it. Yeah, I like him as an underdog. I could see him. I could see him challenging for the world title on occasion because I think he's able to get the people behind him enough to be able to make that work. But being the world champion himself, no, I don't think so. Bobby Roode, 3-time world champion. What about it? He'll probably win the world title again at some point. But do you have a question about that? Okay. Enjoy the live feed. Thanks. Enjoy Deadpool. Thank you. Rosemary has been impressive, but why is Jade being overrated? Her drop kicks look so fake to me. But Rosemary has been awesome. Her drop kicks look fake? Really? I think they've been fine. I don't think Jade is being overrated at all. I think people say she's really good because she is really good. Maybe she hasn't gotten a really good showcase yet. But no, she's certainly the best wrestler in the knockout division they have after Gail at this point. Yeah, if you think her drop kicks look fake, okay, but I mean, she's got a lot more than just her drop kick, dude. Jade is really good. Rosemary's been awesome. Agree with that, definitely. Veda Scott, from what I've seen of her matches in ROH, she's been a botch fest in all her ROH matches. Okay, maybe you've been watching the wrong matches. I've seen her have good matches. I've seen her botch some. I do think she's talented, though, and she's certainly a talented speaker. You know, she's great with promos. I love her character. I think they could do a lot with her. Plus, I mean, everybody botches from time to time. I've been okay with her matches. Why would you... Who would you cream, Madison or Rebel, referring to the YouTube video they uploaded? Oh, yeah, they're doing this thing for the merchant for merch sales, where it's like if you order something off the website, you get your choice of a picture of Madison or a picture of Rebel, and if one of them gets more... if one of them unloads more pictures than the other, then the loser has to get a pie in the face. I don't really care. The whole thing just seems really silly to me. Who would I pie in the face? Probably Madison. Just because I guess I got to support the newer girls, because that's what I'm kind of about at this point. But I really don't care. The whole thing is just really silly. Okay, I think this is the last question. Since TNA still has a partnership with AAA, do they? Is that still a thing? I was not aware that was still a thing. Then why don't they do joint shows with them in Mexico? Maybe make it a pay-per-view or TV taping and to air in America. Well, there's a lot of logistical things that would have to go into doing a joint show, especially if it's televised. I mean, you saw what a nightmare it was, them doing a pay-per-view in Japan. Now, maybe they could avoid like the time differences in Mexico, but still, it's... You know... Unless there was some kind of big benefit to that, I don't see... I can see that working out for AAA more than TNA, because, I mean, TNA have a history of sending their talent down there. I don't know what TNA have ever gotten out of that arrangement, though. Didn't seem like it ever benefited them at all. Plus, if they were to make it a TV taping or a set of TV tapings or whatever, they probably turn it into another like invasion type of angle. I don't want to see those anymore. I don't want to see any more takeover angles. That's been one of TNA's big go-to angles for years. I'm tired of it. I want them to move on and try different things. So, maybe it would be okay for like it would be cool for like a novelty, maybe like a one night only show where they use a lot of the Mexican talent. That'd be all right. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the benefit was, unless there was some kind of talent exchange where we get some of the AAA people for a while. Of course, the people I like may not work there anymore. I don't know. And okay, I think that will do it. Thanks everybody for joining in tonight. I'm gonna check the times for the AMC Theater, see if I can get into a show for Deadpool. And people are expecting that to do a lot of business, so I would like to avoid the crowds. So I'm going to cut it off there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Tune in next Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern, for the Comic Show Post Show, where I guess I'll have some things to say about Deadpool if you want me to talk about that as well. And otherwise, come back next Saturday, this coming Saturday, a week from tonight, and we can talk about next week's Impact. All right? I will talk to you on Thursday. Until then, later.